a voice from Earth to the stars, in a world increasingly saturated with fleeting content and superficial noise. The quiet, persistent voice of Álex Riveiro rises not with spectacle, but with sincerity. A science communicator, writer, and passionate observer of the cosmos, Riveiro does not shout to be heard. He invites you to listen. And what he offers, above all, is a way of seeing. Álex Riveiro's work is rooted in astronomy, but it's never just about stars, galaxies, or exoplanets. It's about perspective, the humbling, exhilarating perspective that comes when we look beyond ourselves. Through his articles, books, and digital presence, he reconnects us with the idea that the universe is not distant or irrelevant. It's ours. We belong to it. And understanding it means understanding ourselves a little more deeply. His voice, especially on platforms like Twitter and in his Astroboticora blog, has become a beacon for those hungry for clarity, depth, and meaning in the vastness of space. He doesn't sensationalize the cosmos. He reveals its poetry through science and its science through wonder. He reminds us that awe and accuracy are not enemies. They are allies. This audiobook is a journey through Álex Riveiro's vision. It is not a biography in the traditional sense. It is an exploration of his ideas, his principles of communication, and the cosmic truths he strives to share. We will dive into his reflections on time, life, dark matter, planetary discovery, and humanity's place in the infinite. Each chapter draws inspiration from his unique way of communicating science, precise yet poetic, rigorous yet warm. What makes Álex Riveiro stand out is his ability to bring balance to scientific thought. He respects complexity, but avoids arrogance. He simplifies without trivializing. He teaches without preaching. He speaks to both the curious mind and the wondering soul. In an age where science is often reduced to noise or spectacle, Riveiro's approach is a breath of clean cosmic air. Throughout this audiobook, you will not only encounter facts about the universe, you will feel why they matter. Because for Álex, the ultimate goal of astronomy is not just to catalog the stars. It's to reawaken our sense of connection to them. So, let us begin, not with fireworks or final answers, but with questions that stretch across light years. Let us listen, as Álex Riveiro would suggest, not just to learn more about the universe, but to learn how to live more fully within it. This is the story of science as a bridge, of stars as a mirror, of a voice that dares to speak quietly and is heard across the cosmos. Chapter 1: Astronomy as Perspective, Seeing Ourselves from the Outside. If there's one idea that runs like a quiet current through Álex Riveiro's work, it is this: astronomy is not just about stars. It's about us. It's about learning to look back at ourselves from a new angle, from far, far away. For Riveiro, astronomy is the most human of sciences, not because it studies humans, but because it reveals how small and how connected we truly are when we look at Saturn's rings or witness the light of a galaxy 13 billion years old. We're not just gathering data, we're changing our place in the story. This is the magic of perspective. It's easy to forget, in the rush of daily life, that we live on a tiny rock suspended in space, orbiting an average star in a galaxy that is one among trillions. But Álex doesn't present this as something discouraging or nihilistic. On the contrary, he sees it as profoundly liberating, because only by recognizing our place in the universe can we begin to understand what makes life and consciousness so extraordinary. He writes and speaks often about the concept of the cosmic perspective, a term popularized by Carl Sagan, but one that Riveiro makes entirely his own. For him, it is not just a poetic idea. In a time when nationalism, ego, and tribal thinking are resurging, the view from space reminds us we are all Earthlings. We breathe the same air. We share the same fragile planet. And, in cosmic terms, we are a single species huddled together under a thin atmosphere, in a vast and often silent expanse. This idea appears again and again in his work. Perspective is not about making ourselves feel insignificant. It's about making our problems feel right-sized. When you understand that you live on a planet that's just one of billions, orbiting a star that's one of hundreds of billions in a galaxy that's one of trillions, your anger at a traffic jam, your social anxiety, your ego, they begin to shift. Not disappear, but shift. Astronomy, he argues, offers something psychology and politics often can't: scale. And it's not just abstract. Álex brings the perspective down to earth. In his articles and talks, he invites people to imagine standing on Mars, watching Earth rise in the sky, a bright, pale dot carrying everything you've ever loved. Or to consider how sunlight touching your face today may have taken 8 minutes to arrive, meaning you are never living in the exact present of the cosmos, always slightly behind, always gently tethered to the past. These reflections aren't just poetic, they are scientifically accurate. And for Álex, that's the point. The poetry lies in the precision. The beauty lies in what is true. It's also why he avoids sensationalism. Unlike some popular communicators who push hyperbole or dramatize every discovery, Riveiro is careful. He respects the intelligence of his readers and listeners. He doesn't need to exaggerate. The universe is already astonishing. No need to dress it up. This quiet honesty has made him trusted by many, because in every thread, every article, and every book, there is a sense that he is not just informing, he is inviting. Not just explaining, but asking, how does this make you feel? And how should it make us feel? Small, yes, but also lucky. Lucky to be here. Lucky to be conscious. Lucky to live in a time when we can look up and actually understand what we're seeing. For Riveiro, astronomy is not about escape. It's about belonging. It reminds us that even though we are made of stardust, we are not lost in the universe. We are of it, part of it, at home in it, even if that home is fleeting and fragile. And spinning through space at thousands of kilometers per hour, perspective is not just about looking out. It's about seeing ourselves, finally, with clarity. Chapter 2. The silence between the stars, finding meaning in a cold universe. The universe is cold. It's silent. It stretches farther than we can imagine, and it doesn't care whether we exist. This is a fact, a scientific truth. But for Álex Riveiro, this isn't a reason to despair. It's a reason to look deeper, not into space, but into ourselves. Modern science has shown us that the universe has no obvious purpose, no center, no divine architecture designed for our comfort or survival. It expands without direction. It evolves without intention, and the laws that govern it show no favoritism toward humanity. For many, this is a terrifying realization, the death of meaning. But Álex Riveiro offers a different view. The silence of the cosmos is not a verdict. It's an invitation in his writings and reflections. He speaks to those who feel overwhelmed by the scale and apparent indifference of space. He does not deny the darkness. He walks directly into it. But he does so with the light of reason, the warmth of perspective, and the quiet conviction that meaning is not something we find. It is something we create when we peer into the vastness and find no voice calling back. That is not proof of absence, it is proof of freedom. We are not limited by a cosmic plan. We are free to build, to wonder, to connect. The emptiness allows for our agency, and that agency is powerful. Riveiro often reminds us that the atoms in our bodies were forged in the hearts of dying stars. That every breath we take contains molecules that once passed through ancient trees, oceans, or even the lungs of other people. That every thought we have is the product of a brain built over billions of years of evolution. A fleeting miracle of chemistry and electricity capable of contemplating its own origins. There is no cosmic instruction manual, but there is wonder. And in that wonder, we can carve out meaning. We can choose curiosity over cynicism, awe over apathy. Álex is not naive. He acknowledges the loneliness that can come from this perspective. He knows that when people ask if the universe cares, they are really asking if anything out there can justify the weight of being human, the joys, the grief, the longing for permanence in a world that gives us none. His answer is gentle. The universe may not care, but we do. And that is enough. We care about each other. We care about discovery. We care about truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And in that caring, in that insistence on finding beauty and meaning despite the silence, we become something extraordinary, not cosmic accidents, but cosmic participants. We are the part of the universe that looks back at itself and wonders why. The silence between the stars is not empty. It's filled with potential. And Álex Riveiro teaches us that to live well within that silence is not to deny its coldness, but to warm it with our questions, our art, our science, and our humanity. Meaning is not written in the stars. It's whispered between us here on Earth, and sometimes that's the loudest echo we'll ever need. Chapter 3. Light as Time, Understanding the Past in Every Photon. To most of us, light is simple. It helps us see. It fills our skies, our homes, our screens. It illuminates. But for Álex Riveiro, light is something far more profound. Time made visible. Every time you look at the stars, you are looking into the past. Not metaphorically, literally. The light from Proxima Centauri, our nearest stellar neighbor, took over 4 years to get here. The glow from Sirius is nearly 9 years old. The starlight from Andromeda began its journey toward Earth more than 2 million years ago. In Álex's words, the night sky is not a picture of the universe as it is. It's a memory of what it was. This is a concept he returns to often, and for good reason. It's one of the most powerful ideas in all of astronomy, that every photon is a message, a traveler that has journeyed across space and time to deliver news of something that once happened. And when we receive it, whether through telescopes, satellites, or our own eyes, we become readers of ancient stories written in light. This simple fact turns the universe into a kind of archive, a record, a history book that spans billions of years. And we, the observers, are not just passive readers. We are interpreters, scientists, storytellers. We take those photons and decode them, measuring their wavelength, their shifts, their arrival angles, to reconstruct what happened in places and times we will never visit. Álex often speaks about this with a sense of reverence, because it means that astronomy is not about objects, it's about events. What we see isn't a star, it's the light from a star as it was. What we see isn't a galaxy, it's a moment in that galaxy's life, frozen in transit. This understanding reshapes everything. Even the sun, the most familiar object in our sky, is not what it appears. When you feel sunlight on your skin, you are feeling 8-minute-old warmth. If the sun were to vanish this instant, we wouldn't know until those last photons arrived. It's a humbling and haunting realization. The universe is never in the present. It is always behind, always distant, always echoing, and yet, for Álex Riveiro, that echo is not a limitation. It's a gift, because it means that nothing is truly gone. Supernova that exploded 1 billion years ago still shine in our instruments. Galaxies that formed before Earth existed still send their light across the void. The past is not lost. It's traveling, arriving, photon by photon, at our little corner of the cosmos. This turns even the simplest act, looking up, into a form of time travel. You're not just gazing at stars. You're witnessing ancient explosions, silent births, gravitational dances, long finished. Your eyes are instruments of deep time. Riveiro takes this further by connecting it to our sense of mortality. Think of death as final, of presence as everything. But if every photon carries a moment of the past, then existence is more layered than we realize. Your body, your breath, even your thoughts, they all affect the world. Send signals, cast shadows, reflect light. You leave traces, whether you intend to or not. To him, this is beautiful. It means that nothing is ever truly isolated. Every light we see is a bond, a connection, a conversation between now and then. In this way, astronomy becomes not just a science, but a meditation on impermanence and continuity. The universe changes. Stars are born and die. Civilizations rise and fall. But the light remains. And in that light, we read the story of everything that has ever dared to shine. So next time you look at a star, remember, you are not seeing it as it is. You are seeing it as it was. And that makes you both a scientist and a witness to the history of the universe. Chapter 4: The Hidden Fabric. What Álex Riveiro sees in dark matter. There is something missing in the universe. Something massive, something invisible. It outweighs everything we can see. All the stars, all the planets, all the galaxies. And yet, it has never been touched, never been seen, never been photographed. We call it dark matter. And according to Álex Riveiro, it is perhaps the most compelling proof that the universe is still hiding its deepest truths. Most people hear the phrase dark matter and assume it must be exotic or mystical. In reality, the idea is built on very ordinary principles: Newton's laws, gravitational equations, and the movement of galaxies. It began as a simple discrepancy. Galaxies are spinning faster than they should. The stars, at their outer edges, aren't flying off into space, even though, based on their visible mass, they should be. Something must be holding them together. Something with gravity, but no light. That something scientists believe is dark matter. Álex Riveiro often returns to this subject because it represents a perfect balance between scientific rigor and cosmic mystery. We know that dark matter exists not from seeing it directly, but from its effects. Like wind-bending trees, we observe it through what it moves, not what it is. It is a ghost with mass, a presence revealed only by its pull. For Riveiro, this invisible scaffolding of the universe is not a source of frustration, it's a source of awe, because it reminds us of something essential. What we see is not all there is, not in life, not in science. Not in science. He is careful, though, not to romanticize what we don't understand. He distinguishes between mystery and mysticism. Dark matter is not magic. It is not a placeholder for the supernatural. It is a challenge, a reminder that even our best theories are incomplete. And this is where his style shines most. Álex is not afraid to say, "We don't know." In a world of clickbait, certainty, and scientific overpromising, his honesty is refreshing. Dark matter is real, but we do not yet know what it's made of. Is it a new kind of particle? A flaw in our understanding of gravity? Something else entirely? He doesn't pretend to have the answer. Instead, he invites you to stand with him in the unknown, not paralyzed, but curious, not afraid, but fascinated. He also emphasizes the scale of the problem. Dark matter is not a small anomaly. It makes up about 85% of all matter in the universe. In other words, the stuff that makes up stars, planets, and people, the so-called normal matter, is just a thin layer on top of a vast hidden structure. If the visible universe were a painting, dark matter would be the canvas. This changes the way we think about everything. It means that galaxies are not islands of stars, but intricate webs of unseen mass. It means that what we call empty is full. And it means that any attempt to understand our origins or our fate must begin with what we cannot yet see. For Riveiro, this is not discouraging. It's energizing, because it proves that the universe is still full of secrets, that discovery is not finished, that science is not a list of answers. It is a process of refinement, humility, and relentless observation. He writes with wonder, but not wishful thinking. He respects the data, and he shows again and again that the unknown is not a failure of science. It is the reason science exists at all. Dark matter may be hidden, but it is not unreachable. Every experiment, every observation, every hypothesis brings us closer. And until we know what it is, we are left with the thrill of pursuit, the thrill of not yet knowing. Because sometimes the most exciting part of the universe is not what shines, it's what quietly holds everything together. Chapter 5. The Search for Life. Listening to the universe's echo dot in the vast stillness of the cosmos. One question echoes louder than any other. Are we alone? It is a question that has haunted thinkers for centuries, inspired stories and speculation, driven missions and technologies. And for Álex Riveiro, it is not just a scientific inquiry. It is a mirror held up to ourselves. The search for life beyond Earth is one of the most fascinating frontiers of modern astronomy. From the exploration of Mars and its dried riverbeds, to the icy oceans beneath Europa and Enceladus, to the thousands of exoplanets discovered in distant solar systems, all of it points toward a single, tantalizing possibility that life is not unique to our pale blue dot. Álex approaches this topic with a mixture of caution and wonder. He does not indulge in fantasy, nor does he dismiss the possibility. He respects the question because, as he often explains, the search for life is also a search for perspective, for understanding where humanity fits in the cosmic story. At the center of this exploration lies a simple, unsettling truth. We don't know what life looks like elsewhere. So far, we have a sample size of one Earth. Every form of life we know shares a common origin and a common chemistry. But what if life elsewhere took a different path? What if it evolved in an ammonia ocean, or within the clouds of a gas giant, or inside the metal-rich crust of a rogue planet? Riveiro reminds us that biology, as we know it, may be a narrow expression of a much broader cosmic principle. Life could be common, but strange, or rare, but familiar. The challenge is not just to detect it, it's to recognize it. This is why he follows closely the research into biosignatures, atmospheric gases, chemical imbalances, thermal anomalies, anything that might hint at biological processes on other worlds. With telescopes like James Webb opening new windows into exoplanet atmospheres, we are, as he says, entering a new era. Astronomy as a biological science. But Álex also reflects on the psychological dimensions of this search. The desire to find life out there often masks a deeper longing, the hope that we are not insignificant. That the universe might be populated. That we might someday meet someone else under the same stars. And yet, he reminds us gently that hope comes with consequences. If we are not alone, how would we react? Would we recognize intelligence if we saw it? Would we even know how to communicate? And if the answer is no, if we truly are alone, how do we carry that knowledge? Riveiro's answer is rooted in humility. He does not claim we are special because we are alone, nor because we are one among many. He claims we are special simply because we are aware, because we can ask, because we can search, and that awareness carries a responsibility to preserve life, to explore with care, to be stewards of knowledge rather than conquerors of the unknown. He often quotes the Fermi paradox, the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations and the lack of evidence for them. It's a sobering puzzle. Maybe intelligent life is rare. Maybe it destroys itself. Maybe it's too far. Or maybe, just maybe, we are the first dot. If so, Riveiro suggests that doesn't make us superior. It makes us precious. It means that every telescope, every mission, every question we ask is part of a legacy, not just for humanity, but perhaps for the universe itself. In this light, the search for life is not separate from our own existence. It is an extension of it. To search the stars is to continue the story that began in Earth's oceans, in our ancestors' stargazing, in every whispered, "What if ever?" asked beneath the night sky. We may not have an answer yet, but in listening patiently, rigorously, hopefully, we affirm what makes us human, and that, perhaps, is already a kind of echo. Chapter 6: The Rhythm of Time. Why the universe doesn't rush. Time is a constant in our lives. We feel it pass in seconds and seasons. We measure it in hours, in years, in the wrinkles on a face or the growth of a tree. But what is it, really? To Álex Riveiro, time is not just a human construct. It is a cosmic phenomenon, a fabric that stretches, bends, and flows across the universe. But more than that, time is a perspective, a rhythm that the universe plays not for us, but through us, in his writing and public reflections. Riveiro treats time with both scientific clarity and philosophical depth. He explains what general relativity teaches us, that time is not absolute. It moves differently for different observers, depending on gravity and speed. A clock on a mountain ticks slightly faster than one at sea level. A spacecraft traveling near light speed experiences time more slowly than people on Earth. These are not thought experiments. They are measurable facts. Time, then, is elastic, personal, local, but beyond the equations and the science. Álex often explores what that means for how we live. He reminds us that while physics reveals the nature of time, astronomy reveals its scale. The light from distant galaxies shows us the universe as it was billions of years ago. Supernova explode and fade across millennia. Stars are born in clouds of dust and gas and live for billions of years before collapsing or fading. Time in the cosmos is slow, patient, unhurried. This is one of the most powerful lessons Riveiro draws from the stars. The universe doesn't rush in a world obsessed with urgency, speed, and constant stimulation. The cosmos offers a different rhythm, one of gradual unfolding. Galaxies don't worry about deadlines. Planets don't panic about progress. The universe teaches us patience, not by preaching it, but by embodying it. And perhaps that is why astronomy can be so therapeutic. To look at the stars is to step out of our compressed schedules and into a broader, deeper timeline. It reminds us that change happens, but often slowly. Growth takes time. Light takes time. Even the truth takes time. Álex draws a contrast here. Our perception of time is emotional, not logical. We feel it rush when we're anxious, crawl when we're bored, vanish when we're in love. But the cosmos is indifferent to all that. Its time is steady, impartial, expansive. He often uses this to invite a kind of cosmic mindfulness, not in a mystical sense, but in a reflective one. When you feel rushed, overwhelmed, or trapped by the clock, remember, the atoms in your body are billions of years old. The iron in your blood was forged in stellar furnaces before Earth existed. You are not just in time, you are made of it. And this matters when we think about the future. Humanity tends to act as if history ends with us, as if the world exists only on the timescale of election cycles, tech updates, or personal lifespans. But the stars teach us otherwise. The universe is still young, cosmically speaking, will exist for trillions of years to come. And what we do now with our technology, our planet, our choices echoes across a timeline far longer than we usually imagine. This doesn't make our actions meaningless. It makes them more meaningful because the decisions we make now about sustainability, exploration, peace are part of a long unfolding story. And we are fortunate enough to be writing this chapter. For Álex Riveiro, then, time is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a lens through which to live, a teacher, a reminder that rushing through life makes little sense in a universe that moves at the pace of gravity and starlight. So take your time, look at the stars, feel the light. Let the universe teach you to breathe, because sometimes the best way to understand time is to slow down. Chapter 7. When Stars Die, Beauty in Cosmic Destruction. Death in the universe is not an end. It is a transformation. Nowhere is this more evident than in the lives of stars, those immense, glowing engines that light up the cosmos for billions of years. And when they finally reach the end of their lives, they do not vanish quietly. They explode. They collapse. They scatter their essence into the void. Álex Riveiro often returns to this idea. The death of stars is not tragic. It's necessary, because in dying, stars give birth to everything. Supernova, those brilliant, cataclysmic explosions, are the ultimate act of cosmic generosity. They take the elements forged in a star's core and hurl them into space. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, the ingredients of planets, oceans, trees, and people, all of them come from stellar destruction. As Riveiro puts it, we are made of star stuff, but more specifically, we are made of star death. And yet, there is nothing morbid about this. On the contrary, Álex treats it with awe. Because what other process in nature is so violent, and yet so life-giving? He often uses this story to bridge science and emotion, to remind us that the universe is not coldly indifferent, but elegantly interconnected. That the worst moments in a star's life are the seeds of our own beginnings. That in astronomy, destruction and creation are not opposites. They are partners. This theme echoes through many of his writings and talks. He describes the beauty of supernova remnants, vast clouds of gas and dust glowing in every color, expanding across light years. He explains how neutron stars, the collapsed cores of massive suns, are so dense that a teaspoon of their matter would weigh billions of tons. He paints a picture of black holes, not as monsters, but as mysteries, strange, invisible engines born from the death of giants. And through all of it, he keeps returning to the same quiet truth. There is poetry in the physics, because the life cycle of a star is also a metaphor. We too are born, we shine, we change, we give and take, and eventually we end. But in that ending, there is legacy. What we do, what we create, what we leave behind, it matters. Riveiro's gift is that he does not separate these ideas. He doesn't treat science as a set of cold facts and philosophy as something separate. He sees them as intertwined. The more we understand about stars, the more we understand about ourselves. Take, for example, white dwarfs the faded cores of smaller stars like our sun. These quiet embers may burn for trillions of years, slowly cooling into darkness. They are not dramatic. They do not explode, but they last. They persist, and in their silence, they tell another kind of story, that not all endings are loud. Something different about the universe, and something different about life. Massive stars explode, small stars fade, binary stars devour each other. The cosmos offers endless variations on the theme of transformation, and every one of them contributes to the richness of everything we see, even our own planet with its iron core, its oceans of water, its breathable air, owes its existence to stars that died long before the Earth formed. So when we look up at the night sky and see the stars shining, we're not just seeing light, we're seeing heritage. And when one of those lights goes out, we're not losing something. We're gaining the raw material for something new. Riveiro reminds us, the universe recycles everything, including us. Death is not a failure of nature. It's its method of renewal. And in that cycle, birth, life, death, rebirth, we find not just a scientific pattern, but a source of peace, because if stars can die and still leave beauty behind, maybe we can too. Chapter 8: Cosmic Silence. Why the universe doesn't speak first. We have built antennas the size of football fields. We have pointed radio telescopes at the sky for decades. We have listened across all directions, all frequencies, all hours, and yet the universe remains silent. This is the enigma that haunts SET, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And it's a question Álex Riveiro addresses not with paranoia or speculation. Why hasn't the universe spoken back? The silence is not just a lack of signal. It is a presence, a phenomenon in itself. In science, a null result is still a result. And in this case, the lack of communication from the stars has begun to take shape as one of the most haunting patterns in all of astronomy. There are two sides to this silence. The first is scientific. Perhaps intelligent life is rare. Perhaps civilizations arise, burn brightly, and extinguish before they can reach out. Perhaps we are early, the first intelligent species in our region of the galaxy. Or perhaps worse, there is something about intelligence that makes survival unlikely. This is the dark shadow behind the Fermi paradox. But Álex Riveiro is careful not to leap to conclusions. He avoids the usual drama of alien, conspiracy, or technopanic. Instead, he offers a subtler perspective. Maybe the silence isn't a failure. Maybe it's just a fact of scale and time. The galaxy is vast, 100,000 light-years across. Light itself takes centuries to travel between even the closest stars. Civilizations might exist, but be separated by thousands of light-years and hundreds of thousands of years. Signals degrade, languages evolve, technologies change. The odds of two intelligent species existing at the same time within communication range, using compatible technologies and actively trying to connect, are astronomically small. In other words, the universe may be full of voices, but they're not synchronized. This doesn't make the silence less eerie, but it does make it more understandable. And for Álex, it presents an opportunity to ask a more personal question. Why do we want the universe to speak to us in the first place? Is it loneliness? Is it hope? Is it fear of insignificance? He suggests that perhaps the silence we hear is not from the universe, but from ourselves. We project our desires outward, waiting for someone to validate us, to show us that we're not the only ones thinking, wondering, fearing, dreaming. And yet, maybe the most radical idea is this: we don't need an answer to matter. Riveiro often talks about how humanity's capacity for wonder, empathy, art, science, all of it arises despite, perhaps because of, the silence. We are the universe trying to understand itself, even without external confirmation. We build telescopes, write poetry, launch probes into interstellar space, not because we expect a reply, but because it is in our nature to reach this reaching. This search is, in itself, beautiful. He compares it to shouting into a canyon. The echo may never return, but the act of calling out, of sending something into the void, is an act of meaning. It says, we were here, we wondered, we tried, we imagined others, and if, someday, we do hear a voice from the stars, a simple signal, a deliberate pulse, a whisper across the void, it will not erase the silence. It will give it context. It will show us that we were not wrong to hope. But even if that voice never comes, Riveiro argues, we still carry the responsibility of being the only known intelligent observers of the cosmos, and that is no small role. If we are alone, we are precious. If we are not, we are part of something larger. Either way, the silence is not empty. It is filled with possibility. And so, we listen. Not just for others, but to remind ourselves who we are. We are the listeners, the waiters, the dreamers, and even if the universe doesn't speak first, we will go on speaking, not just to it, but through each other, because maybe, just maybe, that's how the conversation begins. Chapter 9. The fragile, pale world, Earth as our only ship, The Earth is not large. It is not central. It is not protected by any cosmic barrier or divine design. And yet, it is the only place we know where the universe has opened its eyes and looked back at itself. For Álex Riveiro, this fact is more than poetic. It is sacred, not in the religious sense, but in the sense of value, rarity, and responsibility. Because when we look at the universe, at the cold moons of Jupiter, at the cratered deserts of Mars, at the hellish storms of Venus, we are reminded, again, there is no place like Earth. And that makes it precious. It also makes it vulnerable in a world where we often talk about space colonization, Mars bases, and terraforming. Riveiro offers a quieter, more grounded message. Before we dream of new worlds, we must care for the one we have. Because, despite all our technology and exploration, Earth remains our only functional spaceship, and its systems are far more delicate than we like to admit. The idea became clear to many when they saw the iconic image of Kagit, Earth, taken by Voyager 1 in 1990, the pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan called it. Just a speck in a shaft of light, suspended in darkness. That single image did more to reshape our cosmic self-awareness than decades of philosophical debate. Riveiro echoes that message. He reminds us that from space, borders vanish, nations disappear, ideologies dissolve. All that remains is one world, blue, clouded, spinning slowly through a vast black sea. But he doesn't stop there. He connects that image to real, measurable concerns. Climate change, deforestation, species extinction, the fragile balance of ecosystems. Not to guilt trip, but to clarify. The Earth is not just beautiful, it is finely tuned, and that tuning is easily disrupted. One of his most powerful metaphors is that of spaceship Earth. Imagine, he says, that you are inside a spacecraft, the only one available, and someone begins to break systems, pollute the air, melt controls. What would you do? Of course, you'd intervene. You'd repair. You'd cooperate. Why should Earth be different? He speaks about the importance of perspective here. Again, a theme that runs through all his work. When you realize that we live not on the Earth, but within a thin shell of atmosphere, held together by a fragile gravitational balance and shielded from radiation by a magnetic field, suddenly everything seems more finite, more precious. Riveiro's tone is never alarmist. He doesn't shout warnings, he whispers truths. He believes that people protect what they understand, what they love, what they see clearly. That's why his writing is so full of images. The ozone layer, like invisible glass. The Earth's magnetic field, like a shield in the solar wind. The oceans as planetary lungs. He doesn't tell you what to believe. He shows you why it matters. And this is perhaps his greatest contribution to environmental thinking, not the data, which others also provide, but the emotion, the awe, the quiet realization that we are not owners of the earth. We are passengers, temporary residents, and our choices echo far beyond our lifetimes. He reminds us that there is no planet B, that the dream of colonizing Mars is still centuries away, and even if it happens, it will not be easy. Terraforming is not simple. Radiation shielding is not optional. Life support must be invented from scratch. The Earth is still the only place in the known universe where you can walk outside and breathe. So why not treat it like the miracle it is? Álex also returns often to the irony of cosmic awareness. The more we know about other planets, the more we realize how extraordinary our own is. Water is rare. Oxygen is rare. Temperature, stability is rare. Earth, by all accounts, is a masterpiece. And masterpieces deserve protection. He writes, not just for scientists, but for everyone, for children, for dreamers, for those who may never visit a laboratory, but still look up at the sky and feel something stir. He believes that education is conservation, that when people fall in love with the cosmos, they begin to care more deeply about the little world beneath their feet. Because, in the end, what good is exploring the stars if we lose the garden from which we came? So Álex Riveiro invites us to dream, but with care, to explore, but with wisdom, to reach outward, but to protect inward. Because this small, spinning world is not just our origin, it is, for now, our only home, and in the silence of space, it sings with life. Let's make sure it keeps singing. Chapter 10: Beyond the Horizon. Why curiosity is humanity's greatest tool. Curiosity is one of the most defining traits of humanity. It has pushed us from caves to cities, from fire to spacecraft. It is the spark that ignites discovery, the question that refuses to rest. Álex Riveiro often returns to this idea, viewing curiosity not simply as a trait, but as a profound force, the engine of progress and the foundation of our place in the cosmos. From the earliest humans who looked up at the stars and wondered, what are those lights? To modern scientists peering through the most advanced telescopes, curiosity has been the constant companion on our journey. But why is curiosity so powerful? Why has it propelled us beyond survival to seek understanding? For Álex, curiosity is more than just wanting to know. It is an expression of hope, a desire to connect, a refusal to accept ignorance as the final word. It is curiosity that leads us to ask the big questions. How did the universe begin? Are we alone? What is our destiny? And it is curiosity that drives the small steps, the experiments, the observations, the painstaking analysis that build our knowledge piece by piece. Álex emphasizes that curiosity is inherently linked to humility. To be curious is to admit you don't have all the answers. It is to embrace uncertainty. And in a universe as vast and mysterious as ours, humility is not a weakness, but a strength. He often reflects on the moments in science when curiosity led to unexpected discoveries, sometimes serendipitous, sometimes revolutionary. The cosmic, microwave background radiation, the expanding universe, the accelerating expansion, each began with a question, a puzzlement, an openness to being surprised. For Riveiro, curiosity is also a social force. It builds communities of inquiry, collaborations across borders, generations united in the quest to understand. It fosters education and inspires young minds to dream beyond their immediate realities. And curiosity is personal. It is the inner voice that whispers in solitude, the drive that fuels late nights and early mornings, the spark that keeps us looking upward. Yet Álex also cautions about the balance. Curiosity must be guided by ethics, by responsibility. The pursuit of knowledge without wisdom can lead to harm. The tools we develop, from nuclear power to AI, carry risks alongside promise. That is why he advocates for a science that is both passionate and prudent, a science that listens as much as it speaks, a science aware of its limits and its power. In the end, Álex Riveiro's message is hopeful. That curiosity will continue to propel humanity forward, not because we seek dominion, but because we seek connection. Connection to the universe, to each other, and to the deep mysteries that invite us to explore. He reminds us that every question asked, every star observed, every theory tested is a testament to the enduring human spirit. That even in the face of silence, darkness, and uncertainty, we will keep reaching beyond the horizon, because curiosity is not just a tool for discovery. It is the thread that weaves meaning into the fabric of existence. And as long as we remain curious, the story of humanity and the universe is far from over. Epilogue. The universe within us. We began with a voice, a quiet, thoughtful voice, echoing across pages, videos, and starlit metaphors. A voice that did not pretend to hold all the answers, but instead knew how to ask the right questions. Álex Riveiro's journey through the cosmos is not a race, nor a conquest. It is a patient unfolding, a soft conversation between mind and mystery. Through stars, and silence, through dark matter and time, through death and creation. He has reminded us of something essential. The universe is not just out there, it is. In here, it lives in our questions, in the way we look up when the night is clear, in the awe that fills us when we realize how little we are and how much we are capable of knowing. This audiolibro has not given you all the facts. It hasn't solved the riddle of existence. It hasn't proven that we're not alone. But maybe it has done something even more valuable. Maybe it has rekindled your curiosity. Maybe it has reminded you that science is not cold, that the stars are not distant, that time is not an enemy, but a rhythm, that every silence holds a message, and every question is a form of courage. Álex Riveiro's greatest contribution isn't just what he explains, it's how he invites us to think, gently, honestly, with wonder and humility. In a universe that may never speak back, he teaches us to listen anyway. In a world that often forgets to look up, he helps us remember. So now, as the journey pauses, not ends, we leave you with this. Keep wondering, keep asking, keep watching the sky, because as long as we remain curious, the universe will never be silent, and neither will we.